Welcome! In this video, we are going to cover the critical steps needed to ensure a proper installation of the Zeus multi-point forced entry resistant lock by Surelock McGill. Let's get started by reviewing the installation instructions. The first few pages of the instructions include a list of all the tools you will need to successfully install the Zeus onto a new or existing hollow metal door. Please take note that some specialized tools are needed in the event that the location has a grouted frame. The instructions will also detail all mounting hardware that is included in the packaging, as well as the components they should be packaged with. Finally, there is a part chart that covers everything that would be included in the box, like the strikes, the lock, and the mounting hardware. Please note that there are optional items included in the instructions that may not be in the package you receive. The first step of the installation is to measure and mark the inside face of the door. Measure 62 5/8 inches from the floor and 3 1/8 inches from the frame stop, and then draw a vertical line that will be used to locate the self-tapping screws that will temporarily hold the load plate assembly in place. Once the door is marked, ensure that the 3 L-shaped striked templates are installed onto the load plate assembly. Mount the load plate assembly to the door using the 1 1/4 inch number 10 self-tapping screws at the top and bottom of the plate, but ensure that horizontal movement is still possible. Next, push the load plate against the frame stop, ensuring that all 3 of the L-shaped striked templates are resting against the stop. Then lock the load plate in place by securing the top and bottom self-tapping screws and then adding the last 2 self-tapping screws into the middle slotted holes. Now, using the strike templates, mark all locations on the frame using a marker, pen, or a pencil, and a punch to indicate the hole locations. You can now remove the 3 strike templates and set them aside. They will not be used again in this installation. If you haven't yet, use a center punch to mark and prepare the holes for each of the strike, receiver, and hardware locations. For the top and bottom strikes, you will be creating 2 8-inch holes drilled 1/2 inch deep for the mounting hardware and 1 1-inch hole drilled 1 1/8 inches deep for the lock bolt. For the center bolt strike, you will need 2 8-inch holes drilled 1/2 inches deep for the mounting hardware and 1 1/2 inch hole drilled 7/8 inches deep for the main lock bolt. Remove all burrs or excess grout to ensure that the strikes fit freely into the hole. Then install the 2 3/4 inch number 12 self-drilling screws into each strike, ensuring that the strikes are level to the frame. Next, using the load plate as your drill template, drill the appropriate through holes using an 11/32 inch drill bit through both sides of the door. In this instance, we need to drill a total of 9 holes. 8 of these bolt-through holes are 11/32 inches, with the 9th spindle hole being 1/2 inch. On the external side of the door, open the 8 11/32 inch holes to 1/2 inch, but only on the external skin. If you are using the MLK external lockable handle, use the labels marked on the astragal to open up 4 mounting holes to 1/2 inch. Now slide the straps through the astragal and mount them in place using 2 5/16 by 1 inch flathead screws. At this point, you need to install the clutch handle onto the MLK lock body. Insert the 5/8 inch spindle into the handle and then use the 4 number 1032 flathead screws to hold the assembly in place. Place the longer spindle with the star lock next to the hub on the MLK, with the spring resting against the star lock fastener. Align the mounting and spindle holes and then push the MLK onto the door. Secure the MLK to the door using the 4 M8 by 50 mm flathead screws. Now turn the spindle fully in the correct orientation, in this case to the right for a right-hand reverse door. At this point, you need to slide the lock over the spindle and ensure that the middle bolt is above the spindle hole, and then secure it into place using 8 1/4-20 by 1 inch cap head screws. You can quickly ensure operation by unlocking and retracting the external handle. All 3 bolts should retract and automatically extend. Next, install the upper and lower bolt guides, polished side up. Then install the middle eye restraint by holding the plunger in and sliding it over the main bolt. Once it is in place, secure it to the load plate. Now when you retract the bolts using the external handle, all 3 bolts should be held in place until you depress the plunger to release the mechanism. Next, install the inside actuator plate. In this case, we are using a panic bar actuator. Ensure that the cam is rotated where the R is at the top for a right-hand reverse system. Place the 5/8 inch spindle into the cam, place the entire plate over the lock body, and then secure the trim plate to the lock using 8 number 1032 by 5/8 inch flathead screws. Now, assemble the push bar onto the hinge pivot unit. Install the push bar assembly onto the actuator arm, making sure that the assembly is both level and that there is 1/16 inches of room to slide the bar left and right after securing into position. Secure the pivot unit to the door using 4 number 8 by 1/2 inch self-tapping screws. In order to properly adjust the restraint plunger, remove the locking screw using a 3 mm hex key and then wind the plunger out or in until it just triggers the bolt to fire once the door is closed. When you are satisfied with the plunger depth, replace the locking screw with the 3 mm hex key. Next, we will install the 2 hinge bolts and strikes. To locate the hinge bolts on the door, measure half the distance between the top and middle and bottom hinges, and then mark and place the provided hinge bolt templates. Use a center punch to locate the through holes for the bolts and the mounting locations for the strike hole and associated mounting hardware. Drill 2 1/2 inch holes through the door for the straps and slide them through the door, and secure the hinge bolt in place using 2 5/16 inch cap head screws. Now drill a 1 inch hole, 1 1/8 inches deep, for each of the strike receivers. Install 2 number 12 by 3/4 inch self-tapping screws into each hinge bolt strike and ensure that there is adequate clearance for the hinge bolt to engage with the frame. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or need further information regarding the Zeus, please visit us at the website shown on the screen.